Boston was covered in white snow. Daniel Harper stood by the window on the 32nd floor, watching huge snowflakes hit the glass. The weather report said it was a northeaster, the kind that closes roads and stops planes from flying, the kind that made the city stop and wait. He should have left an hour ago. But Grace was sleeping at her friend Madison's house tonight. And for once, Daniel didn't have to rush home to heat up dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets or help with third-grade math homework. For once, he could stay late and finish the quarterly projection report without feeling bad about it. The office was empty. Marketing had left by 4 o'clock, legal by 5. Even the sales team, who usually stayed until midnight working on West Coast deals, had left their desks. All except one light. 32 floors up, corner office, floor-to-ceiling glass looking out at the harbor. Evelyn Sterling's office. Daniel had worked at Sterling Tech for 3 years. He'd been near her exactly 11 times. Each time he'd felt the temperature drop 5 degrees. Evelyn didn't smile, didn't make small talk, didn't accept slowness, excuses, or eye contact that lasted longer than needed. She was smart, tough, untouchable, and right now, through the frosted glass walls of her office, Daniel could see her shoulders shaking. He froze. Evelyn Sterling didn't cry. She didn't break down. She fired people through email at 6 a.m. and closed huge deals before lunch. She'd once told a rich investor to leave her building because he interrupted her twice. But there she was, bent over her desk, head in her hands, makeup running down her pale cheeks like cracks in marble. Daniel's first thought was to leave, pretend he hadn't seen anything, respect the distance she'd built around herself like a castle wall. But then her head lifted. Their eyes met through the glass. 3 seconds. No movement, no sound, just the howl of wind shaking the windows and the hum of the building's air system. Then she stood, walked to the door, opened it. Her voice was barely heard over the storm outside. "Help me." Daniel stepped inside. The office smelled like bergamot and cold air. Evelyn's navy dress was wrinkled. Her hair, usually pulled into a perfect low bun, had come loose. Strands stuck to her wet face. "I need you to come with me," she said quietly. "Where?" "A wedding. Family. Tonight. At the Fairmorn Copley Plaza." Daniel blinked. "In this storm? Why me?" She looked at him for a long moment. Her green eyes were glassy, tired. "Because you won't ask questions." "I just did." A flicker of something crossed her face, almost a smile. "You won't ask the ones that matter." Daniel thought of Grace tucked into Madison's sleeping bag, probably giggling over some cartoon. He thought of his empty apartment. He thought of the way Evelyn's hands were shaking even though she was trying to hide them behind her back. "What do you need me to do? Pretend to be my boyfriend?" The words hit him like a slap. 3 months. "We met at a board dinner. You made me laugh. I don't laugh often." It felt unexpected. She said it like a script she'd memorized. "They'll ask about your background, your job, your intentions. You're head of product analytics. Yale undergrad. Widowed," Daniel corrected quietly. Evelyn stopped. Her face softened just a little. "I'm sorry. 4 years ago." She nodded slowly. "Then you understand." "Understand what?" "Why I can't go alone." Outside, the snow fell harder. The city lights blurred into gold and white. Daniel knew this was crazy. Knew he should say no. Knew that walking into Evelyn Sterling's personal life was like stepping onto frozen ice without checking if it was safe. But something in her voice, the rawness beneath the control, made him stay. "One condition," he said. "What?" "After tonight, you tell me the truth about what I saw. About why you're really doing this." Evelyn studied him, then held out her hand. "Deal." Her palm was ice cold. Outside, the storm got worse. The suit arrived at Daniel's apartment 40 minutes later. Charcoal grey Italian wool. Tom Ford label. It fit like it had been made for him. Because it had. Daniel stared at the delivery receipt. Rush tailoring. 3 measurements taken from his employee file photo. Evelyn had planned this. How long had she been planning this? His phone buzzed. "Evelyn. Car downstairs." 8 minutes. He buttoned the shirt, tied the silk tie, stared at himself in the mirror. The last time he'd worn something this expensive was his wedding. Sarah had loved navy blue. He pushed the thought away and headed downstairs. The Mercedes sat at the curb, hazard lights cutting through the snow. The driver opened the back door without a word. Evelyn sat inside, transformed. Gone was the wrinkled dress and smudged makeup. She wore a dark emerald gown, sleeveless, structured, elegant. Her hair was swept up. Diamond earrings caught the street light. She looked like she belonged on a magazine cover. But her hands were clenched in her lap. "You clean up well," she said as Daniel slid in beside her. "So do you." The car pulled into traffic. Or what was left of it. The streets were nearly empty. Plows worked hard. The city moved in slow motion. "Ground rules," Evelyn said. She didn't look at him. "We met 3 months ago. October 15th, board dinner at number 9 Park. You made a comment about the wine pairing. I corrected you. You didn't get defensive. I found that refreshing." Daniel listened. "We've kept it private. You have a daughter, Grace, 8 years old. I've met her twice. She likes me but isn't sure yet. That's realistic, isn't it?" Evelyn finally looked at him. "Children notice things. They don't trust easily. Neither do you." Her jaw tightened. "We don't talk about the relationship at work. It's nobody's business. But tonight, my family needs proof that I'm not what? Incapable of connection." The hurt in her voice caught him off guard. "Why me?" Daniel asked again. "You could have hired someone. An actor." "I don't trust actors." She turned to the window. Snow streaked across the glass like static. "I needed someone who wouldn't pretend. Someone who'd react like a real person. Someone who..." She hesitated. "Someone who's loved someone." Daniel's throat tightened. "I saw your file," Evelyn continued. "After Sarah passed, you took 3 months off, came back part-time, rearranged your entire schedule around Grace. You turned down a promotion because it required travel." She looked at him. "You know what it's like to put someone else first. And you don't?" The honesty was hard to hear. "My family thinks I'm broken," she said quietly. "My mother thinks I'm selfish. My brother thinks I'm lonely. My ex-fiancé thinks I'm..." She stopped herself. "Ex-fiancé. He'll be there tonight." Daniel exhaled slowly. "Great. His name is Nathaniel Cross. We were engaged for 8 months. He wanted me to work less. Said I was choosing the company over us. He wasn't wrong." Her voice was flat, cold. "He married someone else 6 months ago. My cousin. Jesus. It's fine." "It's not." Evelyn's face didn't change, but her fingers relaxed slightly. "The story is simple. We're dating. It's new, but serious. You make me happy. I'm trying." She paused. "Can you sell that?" Daniel thought about the way she'd looked in her office. The way her voice had cracked on the words, "Help me." The way she was holding herself together now with nothing but pure will. "Yeah," he said. "I can sell that." The car turned onto Dartmouth Street. The Fairmont Copley Plaza glowed ahead like a palace in the snow. Evelyn reached for the door handle, stopped, turned back to him. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me yet." She almost smiled. Then, they stepped into the storm. The Fairmont lobby was like a church made of marble and gold. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars. Persian rugs thick enough to swallow footsteps. A string quartet played Vivaldi near the curved staircase, and waiters moved through the crowd with champagne glasses balanced on silver trays. It was a different world. Daniel's world was Grace's soccer games and grocery store sushi and trying to fix the washing machine with YouTube tutorials. This was wealth that didn't announce itself. It simply existed, unquestioned and absolute. Evelyn's hand slipped into his. Her palm was still cold. "Smile," she whispered. "My mother's watching." Daniel followed her gaze. Margaret Sterling stood near the grand staircase, dressed in cream silk and pearls. She was 70, but looked 55. Her posture was perfectly straight, and her eyes, pale blue, calculating, locked onto Daniel like a hunter finding her target. She walked over slowly, carefully. "Evelyn." No warmth, just acknowledgement. Then her gaze shifted. "And you must be Daniel." "Mrs. Sterling." He held out his hand. She took it with 2 fingers, like touching something gross. "Yale, I'm told." "Yes, class of 2009. HM. She let go of his hand. "And your family? Where are they from?" "Pittsburgh. My father was a union electrician. My mother taught elementary school." Margaret's face didn't change, but the silence said everything. "How grounded," she said finally. Evelyn's grip on Daniel's hand got tighter. "And you work for my daughter." "With her," Daniel corrected gently. "I lead the product analytics team." How convenient. Mother, Evelyn started. I'm simply curious, darling. You've never brought anyone to a family event. Forgive me for wanting to understand who's captured your attention. Margaret smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You're very careful about where you spend your time. Daniel's different. Is he? Before Evelyn could respond, a man's voice cut through the tension. Evie. A tall man in his early 40s walked over. Sandy hair, easy smile, navy suit perfectly tailored. He pulled Evelyn into a hug that actually looked real. William, Evelyn said, and her shoulders relaxed a little. William turned to Daniel. You're the mystery man. Finally. He shook Daniel's hand with real warmth. William Sterling, the disappointing sibling. He's a professor at Harvard, Evelyn said. Constitutional law, which pays nothing and impresses no one at these events, William said cheerfully. But at least I'm not the one running a tech company and dating an employee. You're definitely the rebel now. Margaret's jaw tightened. We should find our table, she said coldly. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. She turned and walked away, heels clicking on marble. William winced. Subtle as ever. He looked at Evelyn. You okay? Fine. Liar. He squeezed her shoulder. Hang in there. And you? He pointed at Daniel. Survive tonight and you're officially family. In the most terrifying sense. He walked off. Evelyn breathed out slowly. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what? For putting you through this. Daniel looked around the ballroom. Guests in fancy gowns and tuxedos. A 10-tier wedding cake that probably cost more than his car. A world where people were measured by family name and money. I've faced worse, he said. Like what? Grace's school talent show. 2 hours of off-key recorders. Evelyn laughed. Actually laughed. Quiet and sudden and real. And for just a second, the wall cracked. Then a voice behind them, smooth, confident, familiar to her, made Evelyn's entire body go stiff. Evelyn, you look stunning. Daniel turned. The man standing there was perfect. Objectively, undeniably perfect. Tailored tuxedo, sharp jawline, dark hair graying at the sides in that classy way. He looked like he'd stepped out of a cologne ad. And the way Evelyn was looking at him. This was Nathaniel Cross, the ex-fiancé. The wound that hadn't healed. Nathaniel's smile was polished, practiced, the kind that had probably closed 1,000 deals. It's been a while, he said to Evelyn. 6 months, she replied. Her voice was controlled. Too controlled. Has it? Nathaniel tilted his head. Feels longer. His gaze shifted to Daniel. And you are? Daniel Harper. Nathaniel Cross. They shook hands. Nathaniel's grip was firm. Competitive. How do you know Evelyn? We're dating. Nathaniel's eyebrows rose just a little. Are you? How unexpected. Why unexpected? Evelyn asked. Because you once told me you didn't have time for relationships. That work came first. That commitment meant compromise, and you didn't compromise. His tone was light, but the words landed like stones. Has something changed? Yes. Evelyn's face didn't change. I met someone worth compromising for. Nathaniel studied Daniel. Really looked at him. And what do you do, Daniel? I work at Sterling Tech. A pause. You work for her? With her, Daniel corrected again. Nathaniel's smile sharpened. How modern. Dating your employee. I'm sure HR loves that. We're transparent about it, Evelyn said coolly. Unlike some people. The air between them crackled. Nathaniel raised his hands in pretend surrender. I'm not here to fight, Evie. I'm happy for you. Truly. He glanced toward the ballroom entrance. Claire will be thrilled to hear you've moved on. Claire. The cousin. The woman Nathaniel had married. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Enjoy the wedding, Nathaniel said. He paused, looked at Daniel. Take care of her. She's fragile, even if she won't admit it. Then he walked away. Evelyn stood perfectly still. Too still. Evelyn, I need air. She turned and walked toward the terrace doors. Fast, like she was running from a fire. Daniel followed. The terrace was empty. Snow swirled through the air, coating the stone railings and iron furniture. The wind cut through Daniel's suit jacket, but Evelyn didn't seem to notice. She gripped the railing, knuckles white. He's wrong, Daniel said quietly. About what? You're not fragile. Evelyn laughed, bitter and sharp. You don't know me. I know you built a company from nothing. I know you've survived rooms full of men who wanted you to fail. I know you don't cry in front of people. Except tonight. She turned to face him. Her eyes were glassy again. Do you know why I asked you to come? Tell me. Because Nathaniel was right. I don't know how to let people in. I don't know how to be soft. I don't know how to be anything other than. She gestured at herself. This. Controlled, capable, cold. You're not cold. Yes, I am. Then why are you shaking? Evelyn looked down at her hands. They were trembling. I used to think strength meant not needing anyone, she said quietly. That if I could just be smart enough, work hard enough, prove myself enough, I wouldn't have to ask for help. I wouldn't have to depend on anyone. And now I'm standing on a terrace in a snowstorm with a man I barely know, pretending we're in love because I'm too scared to walk into that room alone. The honesty broke something open in Daniel's chest. You're not alone, he said. Yes, I am. No, you're not. He stepped closer. Close enough to see the flakes of snow catching in her hair. Close enough to see the exhaustion carved into her face. I lost my wife 4 years ago, he said quietly. Car accident. Black ice. She was coming home from a conference. I got the call at 2 a.m. Grace was 4. Evelyn's face softened. For a year, I was a ghost, Daniel continued. I went through the motions. Fed Grace. Helped her brush her teeth. Read her bedtime stories. But I wasn't there. Not really. I was just surviving. What changed? Grace asked me if I was sad because of her. Evelyn's breath caught. She thought I was distant because she'd done something wrong. Because she wasn't enough. His voice cracked. And I realized I'd been so focused on protecting myself from the pain that I'd forgotten how to be present. How did you fix it? I stopped pretending I was fine. I let her see me cry. I let her ask questions. I let her be scared. And I was scared with her. And slowly, so slowly, we found our way back. Evelyn was quiet for a long time. Then softly, I don't know how to do that. Do what? Let someone see me break. Daniel reached out slowly. Gave her time to step back. She didn't. He took her hand. You already did, he said. Tonight. In your office. A tear slid down her cheek. Then another. Then she was crying. Really crying. And Daniel pulled her into his arms. She buried her face in his shoulder, and he held her while the snow fell around them, silent and heavy. Evelyn's body shook against his. Not from the cold. From something deeper. Something she'd been holding in for months, maybe years. Daniel didn't speak, didn't try to fix it. Just held her. The wind howled. The city below was a blur of white and gold. Somewhere inside, the string quartet played Pachelbel's canon. The wedding was starting. Neither of them moved. I'm sorry, Evelyn whispered eventually. Her voice was muffled against his shoulder. For what? For falling apart. You're not falling apart. You're just feeling. She pulled back slightly, looked up at him. Mascara streaked down her cheeks again. Her lipstick was smudged. She looked nothing like the polished CEO who ran board meetings and closed deals. She looked human. I haven't cried in front of someone since I was 12, she said quietly. What happened when you were 12? My father died. Heart attack. I found him in his study. Her voice was flat, detached. My mother told me crying wouldn't bring him back. That I needed to be strong for William. So I was. Daniel's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am. She wiped at her face. Ruthless. Efficient. Successful. Lonely. The word hung between them. Evelyn didn't deny it. Nathaniel used to say I loved the company more than I loved him, she said. He wasn't wrong. I did. I still do. She looked out at the storm. But it's not because I don't want love. It's because work is safe, predictable. If I put in the hours, I get results. If I make smart decisions, I succeed. People. She trailed off. People are messy. People leave. Daniel stepped closer. People also stay. Evelyn met his eyes. Sarah stayed, he said quietly. Even when I was impossible. Even when I worked 60-hour weeks trying to prove myself at my first job. Even when I forgot our anniversary because I was chasing a promotion that didn't matter. His voice cracked. She stayed until she couldn't. I'm sorry. Me too. He paused. But Grace stayed. My parents stayed. My friends stayed. The people who matter, they don't leave just because you're not perfect. How do you know? Because love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Evelyn's eyes glistened. I don't know how to show up, she whispered. I only know how to show up perfect. Then stop. I can't. Why not? Because if I'm not perfect, if I'm not the smartest person in the room, the most prepared, the most in control, then what am I? Daniel reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. His thumb grazed her cheek, and she didn't pull away. You're someone who built a company from nothing, he said softly. Someone who employs 300 people and changed an industry. Someone who's terrified of weddings and bad at asking for help and standing in a snowstorm crying in front of a man you barely know. That doesn't sound impressive. It sounds real. Evelyn's breath caught. I don't want to be real, she said. Real is vulnerable. Real is weak. Real is brave. She shook her head. I'm not brave. You asked me to help you. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Something shifted in her face. The walls she'd built brick by brick, year by year, started to crack. I'm tired, she whispered. I'm so tired of holding everything together. Then let go. I can't. Yes, you can. What if I fall apart? Then I'll be here. Evelyn stared at him, searching his face for a lie, for a trick, for the moment he'd walk away. But Daniel didn't move. And slowly, so slowly, she leaned forward. Her forehead rested against his chest. Her hands gripped his jacket, and she let herself be held. They stood like that for a long time. The snow fell. The music played. The world moved around them. But on that terrace, time stopped. Thank you, Evelyn whispered. For what? For not running. Daniel's arms tightened around her. I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time all night, maybe the first time in years, Evelyn believed it. Evelyn pulled back slowly. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was ruined. But her face was clearer, calmer. We should go inside, she said quietly. Do you want to? She hesitated. No. Then we don't. They'll talk. Let them. Evelyn almost smiled. You don't care what people think, do you? I used to. Then my wife died and I realized most of what people think doesn't matter. The only opinions that count are the ones from people who actually know you. He paused. Do they know you? My family? Yeah. Evelyn looked back toward the ballroom through the frosted glass. Shapes moved. Guests dancing, laughing, celebrating. No, she said. They know the version of me I show them. The successful one. The one who doesn't need anything. What about the real one? I don't show her to anyone. Why not? Because the real one is scared and small and convinced that if people see her, they'll realize she's not worth the effort. Daniel's chest ached. That's not true. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He reached for her hand. Because I'm looking at her right now and she's worth everything. Evelyn's breath caught. Daniel, I mean it. You think being vulnerable makes you weak. But it doesn't. It makes you human. And humans are messy and scared and imperfect. And they're still worth loving. Her eyes filled again. I don't know how to let people love me. Then start small. Let me. The words hung in the cold air. Evelyn stared at him. This was supposed to be fake. I know. We barely know each other. I know. This doesn't make sense. I know. She stepped closer. Close enough that he could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. Close enough that her breath fogged in the space between them. Then why does it feel real? She whispered. Daniel didn't answer. He just leaned down and kissed her. Soft, gentle, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she kissed him back. Her hands slid up to his shoulders. His arms circled her waist. And for a moment, the storm disappeared. The wedding disappeared. There was just this. Just them. Just the truth of two people choosing to be seen. When they finally pulled apart, Evelyn's eyes were wide. That was real, Daniel finished. She nodded. Yeah. They stood there, foreheads touching, breathing together. Then the terrace door opened. Margaret Sterling stood in the doorway, her face frozen in shock. Evelyn. Evelyn didn't step away from Daniel, didn't drop his hand, didn't fall back into the controlled, untouchable version of herself. She stayed. Mother, she said calmly. Margaret's gaze flicked between them. The ceremony is starting. We'll be there in a moment. People are asking where you are. I'm here. Margaret's jaw tightened. With him. A long, tense silence. Then Margaret turned and walked back inside, heels clicking on marble. Evelyn breathed out slowly. That went well, Daniel said dryly. Evelyn laughed. Actually, laughed. She hates you. Does that bother you? She looked up at him. No. Good. Evelyn squeezed his hand. We should probably go inside before she sends a search party. Probably. But neither of them moved. They stood on the terrace a moment longer, snow falling around them, holding on to something fragile and new and scary. Then, together, they walked back into the storm. The ballroom buzzed with whispers. Evelyn felt them the moment she and Daniel stepped inside. Eyes tracking their entrance, mouths hidden behind champagne glasses. But this time, she didn't straighten her spine and pretend she didn't notice. This time, she reached for Daniel's hand and held it. Margaret stood near the head table, her face like ice. William caught Evelyn's eye and gave her a subtle thumbs up. Nathaniel was nowhere to be seen. Table 7, Evelyn murmured, guiding Daniel toward the edge of the ballroom. They walked through the crowd. Evelyn nodded politely at distant cousins and family friends whose names she'd forgotten. They'd just reached their table when a hand landed on Daniel's shoulder. Nathaniel. Of course. Mind if I borrow him for a moment? Nathaniel's tone was friendly. Too friendly. Evelyn's grip on Daniel's hand tightened. Actually, she started. It's fine, Daniel said quietly. He looked at Evelyn. I'll be right back. She wanted to protest, wanted to pull him away, but she nodded. Nathaniel led Daniel toward the bar, away from the crowd, into the shadows near the hallway. Evelyn watched them go, her chest tight. Scotch? Nathaniel offered. I'm good. Suit yourself. Nathaniel ordered a double. Took a long sip. So, you and Evelyn. Yeah. How long? 3 months. And you work for her. With her. Nathaniel smiled. You keep saying that like it changes the power dynamic. Daniel didn't respond. Look, Nathaniel said, setting down his glass. I'm going to be honest with you. About what? About you. Nathaniel leaned against the bar. Evelyn is brilliant, driven, extraordinary. But she's also incapable of putting another person first. She can't. It's not in her wiring. You don't know her as well as you think. I was engaged to her for 8 months. I know her better than most. Nathaniel's voice softened. She'll tell you she's trying. She'll make promises. But when it matters, when there's a choice between you and the company, she'll choose the company every time. Maybe she just didn't choose you. Nathaniel's smile faded. I cared about her, he said quietly. I wanted to build a life with her, but she couldn't let go of control long enough to let me in. She couldn't be vulnerable, couldn't admit she needed help, couldn't be anything other than perfect. He paused. Can she do that with you? Daniel thought about the terrace, about the way Evelyn had broken open in his arms, about the kiss that had felt like the first honest thing either of them had done in years. Yeah, he said. She can. Nathaniel studied him. Then you're either lying or you're in for a world of hurt. I'll take my chances. Daniel met his gaze. Because she's worth it. Nathaniel laughed, bitter and low. Good luck with that. He walked away. Daniel stood there, Nathaniel's words echoing in his head. She can't love. She'll choose the company. You're in for a world of hurt. He wanted to dismiss it, wanted to believe Nathaniel was wrong. But doubt crept in anyway. Evelyn saw them return. Saw the tension in Daniel's shoulders. Saw the way Nathaniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. She stood and crossed to Daniel. What did he say? Nothing important. Daniel. He said you can't love. Daniel's voice was quiet. That you'll always choose work over everything else. Evelyn's face went pale. Is he right? Daniel asked. She opened her mouth, closed it. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. They stood there, the noise of the party swirling around them, and Evelyn realized this was the moment. The moment where she could retreat, rebuild the walls, protect herself. Or she could choose something else. Evelyn's heart hammered. Nathaniel appeared at her elbow. Can we talk? Privately? Evelyn. I said no. He sighed. 5 minutes. Please. Daniel stepped back. I'll give you two some space. Don't, Evelyn said quickly. She looked at Nathaniel. Whatever you have to say, you can say it here. Nathaniel glanced around. Guests were watching, pretending not to, but watching. Fine. He straightened. I have an offer for you. I'm not interested. You haven't heard it yet. I don't need to. Crossbridge Consulting is opening a tech advisory division. We want someone who understands the industry. Someone brilliant. Someone with your reputation. He paused. I want you to run it. Evelyn blinked. You're offering me a job, a partnership, equity, full control, better hours, better work-life balance. You could actually have a life, Evelyn. I have a life. Do you? Nathaniel gestured around the ballroom. You're 38 years old. You run a company that demands 80-hour weeks. You don't have hobbies. You don't have friends outside of work. You barely see your family. And now you're dating an employee because he's convenient. That's not. When was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you woke up and didn't immediately check your email? When was the last time you chose yourself over sterling tech? The words hit like bullets. Because they were true. All of them. I'm offering you a way out, Nathaniel said gently. A way to be excellent without sacrificing everything else. Evelyn looked at him. Really looked at him. He meant it. He genuinely thought he was helping. But he was wrong. No, she said. Evelyn. I said no. She took a breath. Because I'm not looking for a way out. I'm looking for a way through. Nathaniel frowned. What does that mean? It means I'm tired of people telling me I have to choose. Work or life. Success or love. Control or vulnerability. Her voice was steady. Certain. I don't want balance. I want integration. I want a life where I can be ambitious and soft. Driven and present. Successful and human. That's not realistic. Maybe not. But it's what I want. Nathaniel shook his head. You're chasing an impossible standard. Then I'll fail. But at least I'll fail trying to be whole. Not trying to be half of myself. She turned to Daniel. He was watching her. Eyes dark, face unreadable. I choose myself, Evelyn said. Loud enough for Nathaniel to hear. Loud enough for the room to hear. Not the version of me that makes other people comfortable. Not the version that's easy to understand. The real one. The messy, complicated, imperfect one. Daniel's face softened. Nathaniel stared at her. You're making a mistake. Probably. She smiled, small and real. But it's mine to make. He stood there a moment longer, then nodded slowly. I hope you're happy. I already am. He walked away. The room was silent. Then William started clapping. Slow, careful. A few others joined in. Hesitant at first, then louder. Margaret stood frozen near the head table, her face unreadable. Evelyn didn't look at her. She looked at Daniel. And for the first time in her life, she didn't care what anyone else thought. She crossed to him, took his hand. Let's get out of here, she said. Daniel smiled. Yeah, what about the wedding? They'll survive without me. Your mother. We'll get over it. Daniel laughed. You sure? Evelyn squeezed his hand. I've never been more sure of anything. They walked out together. Into the snow. Into the unknown. Into something real. The cold hit them the moment they stepped outside. The snow had gotten worse. Fat, heavy flakes that blurred the city into nothing. The streets were nearly empty. Plows rumbled. In the distance, the city moved in slow motion. Your car, Miss Sterling? The valet asked. He looked startled when they appeared. Yes, please. He hesitated. The roads are. I know. He nodded and hurried off. Evelyn and Daniel stood under the entrance, watching the storm. You just walked out of your cousin's wedding, Daniel said. I did. Your mother's going to kill you. Probably. Was it worth it? Evelyn looked at him. Yes. The Mercedes pulled up. They climbed inside. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Where to? Evelyn paused. The river. Charles River. Near the esplanade. The driver nodded and pulled into traffic. They drove in silence. The city slid past. Gold street lights, dark windows, snow piling on empty sidewalks. Boston had shut down. The storm had won. But inside the car, it was warm. Evelyn's hand found Daniel's. I meant what I said back there, she said quietly. About choosing yourself. Good. I don't know how to do it. No one does. You just start. Daniel thought for a moment. By being honest about what you want. About what scares you. About what you need. What if people leave? Some will. What if everyone does? Then you'll still have yourself. And that's enough. Evelyn's eyes stung. I've spent my entire life trying to be necessary, she said. Trying to be so good, so valuable that people wouldn't dare walk away. But it didn't work. My father still died. Nathaniel still left. My mother still looks at me like I'm a stranger. Because you can't control other people. You can only control who you are. And who am I? I don't know yet. Daniel smiled. But I'd like to find out. Evelyn's breath caught. The car stopped. They were parked along the esplanade. The river stretched out beside them. Frozen, silent, covered in snow. The city lights reflected on the ice like ghosts. Why did you bring me here? Daniel asked. My father used to take me here when I was little. Sunday mornings. We'd walk along the river and he'd tell me about his dreams. About the company he wanted to build. The legacy he wanted to leave. She stared out at the frozen expanse. He told me I could do anything. Be anything. As long as I never stopped moving forward. So you didn't? No, I didn't. She turned to him. But I forgot to stop and ask myself why I was running. Or where I was going. I just ran. And now I'm tired. Daniel reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face. Then stop, he said softly. Just for tonight. Stop running. Stop proving. Stop being perfect. What if I don't know how to be anything else? Then we'll figure it out together. Evelyn stared at him. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because I see you. The real you. And I like her. You don't even know her. I know enough. Evelyn's walls crumbled. She leaned forward, kissed him. Not gentle this time. Not careful. Real. When they pulled apart, her voice was barely heard over the wind. I don't want to pretend this didn't happen. Neither do I. I don't know where this goes. Me neither. I'm probably going to mess it up. Probably. She laughed, soft and broken and real. Come home with me, she said. Daniel searched her face. You sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. He smiled. Okay. They told the driver the address and the car pulled back into the storm. The penthouse was exactly what Daniel expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at the harbor. Simple furniture, sharp lines, neutral colors. Nothing out of place. Art on the walls that probably cost more than his salary. Everything chosen carefully, everything controlled. Everything empty. Evelyn kicked off her heels the moment the door closed. Do you want something to drink? She asked. Water's fine. She disappeared into the kitchen. Daniel walked toward the windows. The city sprawled below. Dark except for scattered lights and the glow of snow-covered streets. It was beautiful. Cold. Lonely. Evelyn returned with 2 glasses of water. They stood side by side, looking out at the storm. This is where you live, Daniel said. It's nice. It's empty. He glanced at her. I bought it 5 years ago, Evelyn said quietly. After my engagement ended. I wanted something that was mine. Something no one could touch. Something I controlled completely. She set down her glass. But it's just space. I work. I sleep. I leave. There's nothing here that makes it home. What would make it home? I don't know. She turned to him. I've never had one. Not really. After my father died, the house felt like a museum. My mother preserved everything. His study. His books. His chair. Like if she kept it all perfect, he'd come back. Her voice cracked. But he didn't. And I learned that you can't hold on to people by freezing time. Daniel stepped closer. You can't hold on to people at all, he said gently. You can only love them while they're here. Evelyn's eyes filled. I'm so tired of being alone, she whispered. Then stop. I don't know how. Yes, you do. Let me stay. The words hung between them. Evelyn's breath caught. For tonight? She asked. For as long as you'll have me. Daniel, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm just asking you to try. What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out. What if I hurt you? You will. And I'll hurt you. That's what people do. But it doesn't mean we stop trying. Evelyn stared at him, tears streaming down her face now. I don't deserve you, she whispered. That's not your decision to make. She laughed, broken and wet and real. Then she closed the distance, kissed him. Her hands slid up to his face. His arms wrapped around her waist. And for the first time in years, Evelyn felt something other than fear. She felt hope. They ended up on the couch. Not doing anything. Just sitting close. Her head on his shoulder. His hand in her hair. The storm raged outside. The city slept. Inside, it was quiet. Tell me about Grace, Evelyn said softly. Daniel smiled. She's fierce. Smart. Funny. She asked me last week if women can be presidents. And when I said yes, she announced she's running in 2048. Evelyn laughed. She sounds incredible. She is. He paused. She'd like you. How do you know? Because you're not fake. Kids can smell fake from a mile away. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. I'd like to meet her, she said. For real? Yeah. Daniel kissed the top of her head. She'll have questions. I know. She'll test you. Good. She might not like you at first. I don't like me most of the time. We'll figure it out. Daniel laughed. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Evelyn spoke again. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of this. Of us. Of wanting something I might not get to keep. That's love, Daniel said quietly. It's terrifying because it's real. And real things can be lost. How do you live with that? You don't. You just love anyway. Evelyn closed her eyes. Stay, she whispered. Tonight. Tomorrow. As long as you want. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I. We're going to mess this up. Probably. But you're staying anyway. Daniel pulled her closer. Yeah, he said. I'm staying. Evelyn woke to unfamiliar warmth. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she felt the weight of Daniel's arm across her waist. Heard his steady breathing. Saw the snow still falling outside. Dawn was breaking. Soft and grey and quiet. She turned carefully. Daniel was still asleep, his face relaxed, peaceful. She watched him for a long moment. Then she got up, walked to the kitchen, made coffee. When she returned, he was awake. Morning, he said, voice rough with sleep. Morning. She handed him a mug. They sat by the window, watching the city wake up under fresh snow. What happens now? Evelyn asked quietly. I don't know. That doesn't scare you? Terrifies me. She smiled. Good. I'd hate to be the only one. Daniel reached for her hand. We'll figure it out, he said. One day at a time. One honest conversation at a time. One mistake at a time. Evelyn leaned into him. Outside, Boston stretched out endlessly. White and new and waiting. Inside, two people sat in the quiet morning light. Not perfect. Not certain. Just real.